For this week's Gotcha, I want to talk about capital punishment in America. While over 70% of countries have abolished the death penalty, it's still perfectly legal in 24 states and as a punishment for some federal crimes. And while the Constitution explicitly forbids cruel and unusual punishment, what exactly qualifies as such is left to interpretation. But this week, 2 death row inmates in South Carolina have sued the states for its new law, changing the method of execution from lethal injection to a choice between firing squad and electric chair. In Arizona, correction officers have refurbished a gas chamber and have purchased the necessary chemicals to produce the same lethal gas used by Nazi Germany during the Holocaust. And while those methods might seem particularly barbaric, the truth is that lethal injections are even worse. More than 7% of lethal injections in the United States have been botched. Witnesses to these botched executions have reported inmates thrashing in pain and struggling to breathe for over an hour. Like many other facets of the criminal justice system, the application of the death penalty is racially biased, anti-black, and rooted in white supremacy. Black defendants are more likely than any other race to be sentenced to death, but the race of the victim sometimes matters even more. According to reporting from the AP, since 1972, 295 black defendants were executed for killing a white victim, but only 21 white defendants were executed for killing a black victim, even though black people are disproportionately the victims of crime. The modern practice of capital punishment grew out of America's shameful history of lawless lynchings under Jim Crow. University of North Carolina professor Seth Koch described the practice in North Carolina as, quote, another tool of the mob aimed at terrorizing black communities and making a show of protecting white people from their black neighbors. That racist history lives through capital punishment to this day. Of the 11 former Confederate states, only Virginia has abolished the death penalty, and it did so only this year. Studies consistently show that the death penalty does not deter crime, that it is more expensive than even life in prison, and that it is applied unjustly across racial lines. So what can you do about it? If you live in one of the 24 states where capital punishment is still legal, start local. Call or write your state legislatures or your governor and demand an end to this horrific and racist practice. Those of us in the 26 states where executions have been abolished can turn our attention to the federal death penalty, calling our own senators and representatives and keeping the pressure on. It is long past time for us to rise up and fulfill the 8th Amendment promise against cruel and unusual punishment. Together we can relegate the death penalty to the dustbin of history, where it belongs.